Hey folks, Matt from artoftheimage.com. One of the biggest complaints and criticisms I'm seeing about the Nikon D7500, and actually surprisingly I'm seeing a lot more than I thought I would. It doesn't seem to be a very well received camera. At least that's kind of the pulse that I'm sensing from the general viewing public online. Anyways, I guess sales will bear that out one way or the other, but often what we see online and what we see people complaining doesn't bear out to be what the general public feels about it and how it sells. So maybe that's just, they always say that the negatives, people are quick to express the negatives, but very often don't say what's positive about something. In other words, if you go out and have a negative experience at a restaurant, say, you're going to complain. But most of us don't say too much if it was a really good experience. At least we certainly don't write in positive reviews as quickly as we would if it was a negative one. And I'm wondering if that's why it seems like there's more negative D7500 commentary that I'm seeing. But we have a viewer writing in with some right here, and kind of interesting. That's why I wanted to discuss this one, because this seems to be the main thread I'm seeing in the D7500 complaint, or the complaints I'm seeing. Stan Obert writes in, YouTube username, he says, I would have preferred an updated D7200, not a stripped down D500. Now I just want to pause there, because that I think is the crux of the complaints I'm seeing. I think people are feeling like that's what they've gotten with the 7500, that they feel it's not an update to the 7200 for a few reasons we'll get into, but it's instead a D500 and a stripped down D500. And obviously if that's what it is a stripped down D500, it's going to be a lower price point, which the 7500 is. So Stan goes on to say, an updated 24 megapixel sensor with improved dynamic range, dual SD card slots, focus peaking as you said, and the provision of using the same battery grip as my D7200. I will pass on the D7500. So he's essentially saying he would have preferred a true update to the D7200, which is along the lines of what I said in the previous videos I did about the 75, is that I don't really feel this is an update to the 72. And I think Stan's kind of nailed it, is it's a stripped down D500. And I think that's the crux of the complaints. I think if Nikon hadn't have said this was the 7200 update, but had it called it something else, in the same way that, say, the D750 is kind of like a baby D5 or something like that, then you wouldn't have the same complaints. But here you have a camera that we were expecting it to be, like the D810 has a high megapixel sensor. It's not a dumbed down D5. It's an entirely different camera. And I think that's what we thought was going to happen with the APS-C 7200 update, is that we'd get perhaps more megapixels. That's what I wanted. I would have liked 30 megapixels. And kept a lot of the features and seen some improvements. Instead, they've kind of just worked with the parts bin of the D500, stripped it down, and given us the 7500. And I think that's why people are upset. But I want to know, what do you guys think? Do you feel the same way Stan does about this? Is this the problem? Is that you feel like you're getting a stripped D500, a stripped down D500, when in fact you were looking forward to more of an update to the 7200, a higher resolution, better performing sensor, keeping your 2 SD card slots and some other features? Is that the crux of your complaints? If you're in that camp that you don't like the D500, that you don't see it as a worthwhile update, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for your feedback, Stan. It's an interesting question. I'm just trying to get a feel for why there seems to be such negativity towards the 7500. Because in a lot of ways, I do think it's a good camera. But I was quite surprised with how many people were telling me I was off my rocker when I was quite enthusiastic about it. Once I saw a lot of the comments, I could see why. Because if you're of this leaning, that it's a stripped down D500, all of a sudden it starts to make sense. And a lot of the things that I wished were in it, I could see how that becomes a major problem instead of just a minor thing, and you might skip on the camera. But let me know. Leave your feelings in the comments below. Let's discuss this and see. I'm just curious what you think. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon here at artoftheimage.com.